and welcome to another edition of Unpopular Review Entertainment. And tonight we are going to be discussing Loki's position in the movie The Avengers. Now tonight, unfortunately, we're not being joined by That's So Caden. However, we will definitely take on the helm because that's what we do. You know what I mean? It's the Mark and Badguy Jack and God of Bonnets. Oh my God.
Yes, the God of Bonnets is
The
here.
God of Bonnets is here this
Yes,
evening. And mind you, I completely understand why you have that name. Very, very smart, sir. I like it. I like it quite a bit. The God of Mischief. Man, I love it. You're so mischievous.
thank you, big bro. I much appreciate it, and I can't wait to talk about because, for the following week, the next following weeks, we're going to be talking about Loki, and we're going to talk about certain parts that he played in the MCU because he's going to have his own show and
Yes.
the next few weeks. So, Avengers, which you guys did cover, and Unpopular Review Entertainment, y'all talked about it.
Yep.
Great movie. It's one of the things that one of the first Avenger movies. So we're just really here to strictly talk about Loki. I mean, think about this, man. Like Loki was the first baddie in
Yep. Really though.
Avengers, like the first person that they faced.
Yes. Yes. And here's the crazy thing. Like, I remember when that movie came out and that was like the main bad guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And now afterwards, I don't know. Like, mind you, the guy was very impactful, but now that there's so many layers to the character, it feels like um he feels more like a tweener. Does that make sense?
I get you. Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm sorry
No,
to
I
say,
get you. Yeah.
but like he feel more like a Charlotte Flair. Like one day he could be a heel, the next day he could be a face, next day he could be a heel, like he could be a face. Like
Oh my God. We should totally break it down for you guys for entertainment. When he says tweener, meaning like he can sometimes be a bad guy, but sometimes he's a
Mhm,
good guy. And you're
mhm.
right, absolutely, because like
That's how it feels now. But for the purposes of this movie, as we were saying before, this was definitely him, in my opinion, at one of his baddest because it was
yeah.
still somewhat of an introduction. I mean, I don't know. Do you think he was worse in Thor, or do you think he was worse in this? I think he was worse in this.
Seeing Thor, you could say he was worse, but in this one, I mean, not for nothing, he attacked New York. So you
Facts.
easily the worst person in the world when you sit and attack New York City, because
Facts.
we're already been going through a lot here in New York, and he
Mhm,
attacked New York.
And mind you, like that attack in New York leads on to a
Mhm.
lot of things, and
Absolutely.
therefore that definitely does make a lot of sense. Like the guy has been around since that. You know that it's
Mhm.
crazy because like we reviewed this movie and we're kind of reviewing it again, but
Right.
then with the focus on just Loki, it really makes you wonder like, wow, how far is it really gonna go now? Like, you know what I mean? Like Thanos is gone, but Loki's still around. Like, how long is this really gonna go? Like, what's gonna be the I'm going off into a tangent. Avengers. Anyway.
Avengers, baby.
No, but but clearly, like it was awesome. Loki is one of the people that it was incredibly influential as far as bringing those people together.
Yes.
And especially, Nick Fury was just like, come on, guys, we need to, because this guy is not a big deal, is a really big deal. And then, a lot of it with the Tesseract and,
Yes.
mind you, we didn't even know anything about Infinity Stones yet. So like, yeah, I mean, the guy was very, very influential in this movie.
Yeah.
I keep leading on to other things, but
Yeah, but I can see why you say that because like Loki had layers and also longevity too. Like
mhm,
he's one of those villains who, how do you put this? Like Loki, I get why you go through that where you're going to the next, like you want to go further on more with Loki because he's been here for so long. Because it wasn't
mhm,
like He's not one of those villains who he was defeated and he was either put away or he died. He kept coming back. He kept coming back for more. And in this
Right.
particular movie, him setting up, he's the reason why we have the Avengers. He's the reason why the Avengers all teamed up. When he brought in all these monsters from I guess they were from oh god, I'm blanking on where Thanos is coming from. But you get what I'm saying? Like he brought all these monsters, destroyed New York. I mean, he wasn't even just out to just obviously he wanted to out not out, but he wanted to defeat his brother because that was his main thing. He always wanted to prove he was the more superior brother.
You know, that's the only thing that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's the shit that I don't like about Loki because I feel like after a while that kind of makes you soft. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you know, you chasing that whole situation so badly, and you like pushing 40, and you like acting like this right now because like you just like,
What
oh
about? What
my
about?
brother, he's the thought of Gunther, god of thunder, and da 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 da. I bet you lucky that you got saved by Odin. Like for real. Like where would you have been right now if you didn't get saved
But
by Odin?
so, and I think that's the thing in Thor, right? In the first movie, I would have to watch it all over again. But in the first movie, I feel like there was a lot of things he did not know, and once it was becoming more clear, he was like,
I'll give you that.
I think when it became clear, he and I won't use the word bitter, but because now he knew this, like, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you? I think there was a lot of things he felt. It was almost like in a lot of ways I can sense what he's not sense what he's going through, but I can get where he's coming from. But
Mhm.
even though you don't have to be attacked Ohio or something like that. Attack somewhere where no one cares about. Don't attack New York.
That's it. That's just it. That's
Yes,
just it, right? Like
absolutely. Yeah.
that's the crazy thing because it's kind of one of those things. Like you know, 9/11 happened in New York because
Yes.
you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
it's New York. That's why it happened in New York. Like you know what I'm saying? And that's why New York happened in like you know what I mean? They're not gonna go attack. I mean, mind you, even if it's in the same state, they're not gonna go attack Syracuse. Shout out to Syracuse. No offense to Syracuse, but they're not gonna go attack Syracuse. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's one of those
They,
things.
they, they they attacked the heart of New York. I mean, right there.
Yeah, in Manhattan, like right
Yeah.
in the business area. Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Come
mean?
on, Loki.
You're not gonna do that. I mean, I bet you it costs. You're like, well, you know, knowing them, they probably recreated New York somewhere and then filmed over there. You know,
Created. This
because
man owned New York.
you know the
It's
permit,
not New
you
York. It's
know the
New
traffic.
York, right?
Say what?
It's New York, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, New York. Word up. There's
Yeah,
one.
but Loki was such a big part in this movie. I mean, from everything that he did, from even his introduction, where what he was trying to take, I think it was Germany, and Iron Man and Cap come through, and
Mhm.
they take him away, and one of them are trying to give him instructions or something like that. I think that's when Thor comes in. I mean, he was such a big part in this movie. I mean, and I honestly think when I think about Avengers, right? Like, I mean, I guess you can name a villain and be like, nah, that could have been their first villain they fought. But Loki was the best villain to kick off the Avengers series. Honestly, I mean, just the stuff that he did in here alone, and he had a and I think the cool thing about Loki, or at least with MCU, I'm a big Marvel MCU fan, and I love that they had different layers of these movie. I'm not trying to go all over this movie, but he had a really good comedy scene with Hulk. I mean, we all know the scene is famous. It's probably the most one of the most looked up scenes on YouTube. But
Mhm.
him standing up to Hulk and just trying to be like, I'm a god. You can't do nothing to me. And then just get
Mhm.
pummeled how he shout out to Tom. I think it's Tom Hellington. I'm probably butchering this man's name, and I apologize. But the man who plays the man behind Loki have brought this man alive in this movie.
Facts.
This particular movie. And I know we're gonna talk more Loki anyway, because I mean Loki is a big part of this MCU. He's probably easily um you can make the arguments on who's your top five villains, but he has to be in your top five. I just personally.
I totally agree, and I think that in this movie is the movie that highlighted him as a villain the most.
Yes.
Because then after that, then you know you definitely, in my opinion, start delving more into the character himself, like who he is, good, be it good or bad. Like you start delving into who he is specifically. But here, he is just a shift changing badass, and I love it. And I love it honestly because, as Jack was saying earlier, like he really is one of the most influential bad guys in the entire series.
Bad guys.
And he knows about bad guys.
Yeah,
Bad guy.
yeah. You can see. I was trying to wink, and I was like, right, I have glasses.
Thank you guys for joining us once again in another edition of Unpopular Reviews Entertainment. I am the Mark. Right next to me is the God of Bonnets, Mr. Bad Guy Jack. Shout out to Loki. Shout out to Unpopular Reviews. Shout out to everybody that is doing shows this week. All the movie shows, all the wrestling shows, every show. I'm not gonna list them all, but you all know what I'm talking about when it's Unpopular Review. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a fantastic night.